Welcome to High Infidelity, the best cheating videos on YouTube. If you enjoy this content, remember to subscribe and turn on notifications. Now let's get into the video.
I, 30 female, caught my husband, 31 male, in an affair and I don't know how to move on. I'd had my suspicions for a while, but I kept dismissing them because I felt he'd never do that to me. He's been resisting my efforts most of the time since about April, sitting differently on the sofa so that he's facing away from me. Minor things. It's with one of our long-term pals. She paid me a visit a few weeks ago. She sent me an SMS. She's claimed to care about me. I discovered it when I turned over and saw them having a Snapchat discussion. He stated that I attempted to seduce him last night and ridiculed it, and she said she hoped she could be there to hug him. When I approached him, he confessed it. He said that it was due to the stress of quarantine. He is unwilling to work things out. He regards me just as a heartfelt friend. When I informed her husband, he confronted her, and they supposedly kissed in February. I don't believe I was ever going to be enough for him at that point. We used to be overjoyed. We spent Valentine's Day together the week before they kissed. For our anniversary, he got us a lovely bottle of wine. We had a good time, and we were wonderful. I'm at a loss on what to do next. We've only been married for approximately a year. I feel like he stole so much away from me and refuses to go to counseling or sort things out. I don't want to leave my home, yet I see him everywhere. He chooses her. In every relationship I've ever been in, I've been cheated on. He was supposed to be my one and only. I'm at a loss on what to do. I've scheduled therapy sessions, but I was also laid off last month, so I have much too much free time to go through every single instance where he may have lied to me or where I made myself sad by clinging to him. How can I begin to work my way through this? Update: since everything transpired, I've only had one discussion with my husband, by his choosing. It was like talking to a robot for about 5 minutes. I've heard from others that he bemoans how he damaged his life, but I've never received an apology or the same expression of sorrow. I don't care at this time. I know he and the other lady are still together, and to be honest, they deserve each other. That's fantastic. While I still get irritated now and again, I no longer lament what I used to have. Instead, I'm ecstatic with the life I've been given. I relocated to a small walkable city and purchased my ideal apartment. It makes me so pleased to see how I've designed it and to live in a nice location rather than our previous drab home. In our marriage, I was the earner, and he would make me feel bad about wanting to pay for great dinners or do exciting things. I've done a lot of gourmet fun things since coming here and haven't felt bad about it. It's invigorating. I've put my toe back into the dating water and had a slew of lackluster dates using dating apps. I just met someone with whom I have a strong connection, and I am loving how valued and wanted he has made me feel. It's early, and we're going slowly, but dating has taught me that I'm a good catch who doesn't have to settle. Therapy has worked wonderfully for me, and I'm so glad I got started right away. My therapist is pleased with me. I'm pleased with myself. I've stopped seeing divorce as a failure. Not me, but him. I'm actually glad and delighted to wake up each morning and not have this dreadful weight on my chest. The holidays were pleasantly simple, and I was overjoyed to spend time with my family without having to make any sacrifices. Overall, life is nice, and there is a lot more of it ahead of us. In retrospect, I can't believe I spent so much time trying to figure out how to convince him to return home. I've created my own home and pleasure, and that is much more valuable. Story 2. I, 25 female, found out my wife, 24, cheated on me before we got married. We married a few months ago after dating for almost 4 years. I just discovered that she had a 4-month affair with a mutual acquaintance prior to our engagement. Emily, our buddy, is no longer a part of our life, and I'm not sure how to manage the situation. Before we were married, we had a couple with ladies. Emily is someone we'd slept with before. My wife, then GF, allegedly had with her without me approximately a week after we initially slept with her. The blunder was that we invited her back about a month later and had another. I had no idea they were already sleeping together. I feel like such a for doing it. Anyway, my father died around this period, and I was dealing with some medical issues of my own. As a result, I wasn't able to be emotionally there for my wife. I accept full responsibility for this, but the fact that she cheated on me when I was at my lowest makes it much more difficult. So, how did I discover this? My wife had left her fitness record book on our table while I was cleaning. Or, at least, what I mistook for her fitness journal. I grabbed it up and opened it to a random page. It was jam-packed with sets and repetitions for various movements. I was flipping through it when I came across a diary-like entry. I scanned it since it indicated Emily's name and saw words that made my heart plummet to the pit of my stomach. I don't want to rewrite what was spoken, but it was obviously a physical as well as an emotional affair. The emotional component is the most lethal. The idea that my wife considered leaving me hurts more than anything else. Later that night, I addressed her. She sobbed and told me she considered telling me so many times. The reason she allegedly hadn't was because I'd had a very difficult existence, particularly in the last 5 years, and things were just beginning to improve. She wasn't sure I could deal with her treachery on top of everything else. She did call the affair off on her own, and she was the one who broke off communication with Emily. Now she's going to visit a therapist on her own, and ultimately we'll go as a pair. I'm at a loss on what to do. I absolved her of the crime. I just heard a podcast metaphor about how people constantly declare they'd die for their loved ones. As a result, the anguish of your so cheating on you is equivalent to taking a bullet for them. That is something I tend to agree with. I'm not sure if I'll ever be able to look at her the same way or have total faith in her again. I'm simply at a loss. We have a great connection, or so I thought, open communication, or so I thought, and are best friends and lovers, or so I thought. I believe I was mistaken. Update: at the time I wrote the op, I was dealing with my wife's infidelity and had resolved to forgive her, lol. That, as most of you predicted, was the beginning of the end. Over the following 3 months, our marriage deteriorated drastically. Some of the highlights include my wife, Sarah, telling me she felt she was polyamorous and her attempts to make me feel comfortable welcoming another lady into our relationship. Yes, she had the guts to do this after being found cheating, demonstrating how much she felt I was a pushover. Surprisingly, the lady Sarah desired as our third wasn't even the same woman with whom she previously had an affair. I was at my lowest point. Most days, I felt like I was about to have a panic attack at work, and I dreaded returning home. The worst aspect, looking back, is that I blamed myself fully for this catastrophe. My wife was openly dating another lady while attempting to look as normal as possible to all of our friends. Sarah continued promising me that I would come around and appreciate having someone else in our relationship. It took me far too long to wake up in this relationship, but her insistence on polyamory was my wake-up call to all of her manipulative nonsense. I'm not saying polyamory is terrible in and of itself, but how she utilized it in our scenario was shady. Something inside of me eventually broke free, and I requested a divorce. It was as though a light switch had been turned. I started to view all of the events in our relationship in a whole different light as soon as I decided I'd had enough. I said in our earlier article that we'd done a lot of with other ladies. Side note, I'm also a woman, which not everyone picked up on in my initial post. I had always been opposed to when we first began dating. My ex brought up the notion many times throughout our relationship, even bringing our friends into the discussion a couple times over drinks to legitimize it. When it occurred the first time, I had really left the bar and gone back to our apartment to sleep. I was awakened by Sarah bringing another lady to our bed, and I felt compelled to participate in order to avoid awkwardness. My ex then informed all of our, mainly male, friends about our great relationship, and they were, predictably, extremely supportive. Just kind of escalated from there, and I started to wonder maybe they weren't that horrible after all. Maybe I'd actually changed my mind about them. I could probably write for hours about all of my ex's other deceptive tactics, but needless to say, I eventually recognized I had been in an abusive relationship. Both vocally and emotionally. I was broken. The divorce was a huge, which came as no surprise to everyone. Sarah still sought to control my behavior even after we were separated, and when she realized I wasn't her puppet, she lost it. She even attempted to persuade me that she was due a third of my portfolio, lol. We hadn't even been married a year. Then, one night, when picking up some of her items from my house to go back to her new girlfriend's house, she attempted to kiss me. What was my reaction? I instantly puked. The fact that she physically disgusted me to the point of being ill demonstrates exactly how done with her I was. Now, all I know about her is that after we separated, she ended up remaining with the younger female she was seeing. I genuinely felt sorry for her. She reminded me of myself, which is probably why Sarah chose her. Hopefully, she won't be so easily swayed. I, on the other hand, have been great. Following the stress of the divorce, I felt as if the weight of the world had been lifted off my shoulders. My anxiety began to subside, and I realized that the major source of it had been that connection. I had the infamous brief rebound relationship, and when it ended, I put dating on hold for a bit in order to concentrate on myself. So to say, I utilized that time to find myself. When I met Sarah, I rediscovered old activities I'd abandoned, joined a gym, and became in great condition. I visited to a few cities before deciding to relocate to a whole new city. I had a couple one-night encounters before deciding it wasn't for me. However, when I'd gotten into my stride as a single person, and was genuinely enjoying it, I met this lady, Jess. I think since I wasn't seeking for anything, it caught me off guard, but we connected. We have a lot in common. With her, I felt at ease. She's pretty much everything I've ever wanted in a companion, as well as everything I believed couldn't be done. I assumed you had no choice but to settle. But, no. Jess and I have been together for 2 years, and she has showed me what a really loving relationship entails. A relationship that is free of abuse and manipulation. One in which we each have our own individual and relational objectives. We deliberately make time for one another here. It's fantastic. So that's where I'm at the moment. I know a lot of people in this subreddit have been in bad relationships like mine, but I'm here to tell you that it's so much better if you break out of them. Being both single and in a better relationship. So don't be concerned about being alone for a while. Accept it as is. Take a step forward. For a time, do whatever makes you happy. And ideally, your Jess will show up when you least expect it. Even if she hadn't in my situation, I'm sure I'd be okay being alone. I know I would have been 1,000 times happy than I was in those final few years with Sarah. So, if you're in an abusive relationship, or just one in which you have no self-esteem left, please get away. Now. Thanks for reading.